There we go. Welcome to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Apparently, I did not get the go live button. So here's let's just do one real quick version of this. Okay. We can't have a week without technical difficulties, right? Welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. And that's because old guys, club fitters and club makers, we're tremendous pack rats. And that's the reason why we're here. And we get to talk about golf all the way around the world in most cases. And hopefully that happens today. All righty. Well, so to start all over, I was going to say, well, I'd already done this whole presentation, and Robin came in here and said, "Hey, you're not on." I looked up there, and sure enough, I wasn't. But I said something along the lines of I said a new winner in the golf tournament. I said new products being released, tornadoes everywhere, and and Christmas is upon us. So again, Jason Kokrat and Kevin Naw, congratulations to them. And I said, if you saw the Twitter, it was all about Bubba and Lexi hitting shots, and they were just hitting some crazy good shots. I don't know where they ended, but that's where it was at. So good for them. The stuff that we normally show you coming out of the shop, I only have one this week, and it's not that we had only one. We had quite a few, to be honest. This is one of the ones I took a picture of because it's going to South Dakota State, or South Dakota, the state. And that's where my dad went to college, South Dakota State University, home of the Fighting Jackrabbits. All right, so here's what we made. Booyah, Grindworks. So what happened to this set is that it came to me completed with a set of Acura Shafts in them, the Acura 80s. And I don't have a picture of those for some reason. Okay, so anyway, these are Acura 80s, those black shafts that are in them. And these are Grindworks. They're you can see is at PCX. Basically what that is that's a very, very small pocket. It's a small pocket in a very large cavity. Not a bad looking club, to be honest with you. Normally what happens when you have components like this is that what suffers is either the finish or the paint job. And in this particular instance, all that stuff you're seeing there is a badge. So you can make that up as you want. But the finish on this is really quite nice. And then our golfer had a couple of Clevelands and an MD5 Jaws. So that was pretty good. We like that. Let's see if I can make this go away. Okay. And so something happened to him and he just wanted them redone. Okay. And that's what we did. They had black ferrules, and he requested a set of red at the top, a blue in the middle, and then the wedges. He wanted white for red, white, and blue, but the white ones that we had really didn't look that good. So we went with a couple of blues and a red. And I think it matches because you got the blue accents on the Cleveland and the red on the Jaws. And I think it works out pretty good. Then, to keep it even more colorified, is that we had red grips, blue grips, and then the gray grips. So not too bad, right? Not too bad at all. I thought that was pretty nice. They were previously built, so I had to tear them all apart, and we asked some of the specs, and of course, I'm never ever going to say something bad about another club maker unless it's absolutely horrible. But that's the difference when we've talked about measuring length in the past, whether playing length or the 60 gram length. He was supposed to be a half of an inch over, and everything I found was about a quarter of an inch over. And that tracks with measuring from a 60-degree lie angle. Okay. Particularly when he wanted 3 degrees up. These were supposedly 3 degrees up, and they were not. They were more like 2. And so we bent them to be uniform at least. And after talking to him, I think what we did was okay. And so he's got himself a brand new set of grips, a brand new set of ferrules. It's realigned. All's good in the world. Okay. Other thing that we did is we made the Mick tree, the Mick golf tree. And the McGolf tree it started out as a Charlie Brown Christmas tree, very, very small, and to be nothing but golf ornaments. Well, the Charlie Brown part of the tree died just a horrible, painful death, and we ended up getting another one. And then that tree ended up. I mean, it was funny because we made it our life's mission to rescue like the world's worst artificial tree, and now we're settling on this one, and he's about done too, but we're getting close. But to give you an idea of what we're putting on the tree from an ornament, because some of these ornaments are really quite nice. So whenever we go on a trip, we always look for a Christmas place in order to find golf ornaments. You would be surprised how few there are, right? So here's a good one. That's from the PCS in 2008. Nice little club head. I get a grip. That one was pretty cool. And here's Santa. He's driving around. There's we always got one for we used to get one for each year. And what we do is eventually we started adding the kids' names on it. There's another one celebrating getting the top 100 for the third time. I'm at my best when I'm teed off. Notice how there's a lot of gophers in all of these things. Oh, there's that one. And then one of our favorite, I tapped that. Okay, so we got through that. New stuff, new releases, right? The internet's all ablaze with the release of the Mizuno Club. Bam, there it is. The 221 at the top, 223 in the middle, and the 225 at the bottom. And lefties, we get one of them. We get one. And now I will say, in the defense of Mizuno, they did make the blade in the SCL last year, and I did hit it, and it did feel very, very well. But I will stick by the idea that blades are made for only a select few golfers, and they also know that as well. That doesn't hurt my feelings nearly as much as the 225. The 225 is going to be a very, very nice club. It's the follower of the HMB. The HMB is a hollow blade, and it's strong, has a little less offset. It falls in what would be termed the distance players club, and it's very nice. And so we'll go with that one. And so just to kind of lead into that will be the video. I did a review on them, and I hit the 223. Okay, I hit the 223 because that was the lefty version of it. And we talk in depth about the materials and things like that of all the golf clubs. So that will be tomorrow. And so like and subscribe this one, and then that way you'll know when all the other ones, and hit that bell, that notification bell, and that way you know when all these things are happening. And then Saturday, we will be publishing, I believe it's week 3 of the workouts, and they are going well. I like that. And I got to talk to Dr. Quidry for another episode. So we are really rocking and rolling through this. So it's going to be some good stuff. All right. New product other than the Mizuno. I just got an email from the guys at True Temper, and they're releasing what they call the Hazardous line. They've had the Hazardous line, the Hazardous Smoke line. Now it's the Hazardous Rdx line. And the Hazardous Rdx is probably for the slightly more aggressive swinger. And they're coming out with the Rdx Green, which is quite possibly the stiffest shaft that they've made. Now they've got the Rdx, they got the Hazardous Green Smoke, which they call the Hulk shaft, and it's a little bit more green than the color behind me, almost and fluorescent like. Very, very popular, and you got to be a brute. And this RDX green is going to be even more so. Now, the difference here is that it uses they call it Hexcal Hextow, I think is what it is. And it's a high-end graphite group and design group. And most of their stuff is used in aerospace. So they're getting the expertise of these guys dealing with graphite and what they're talking to them about. And they're getting some really good feedback. Now, the other one is the RDX Red. And the RDX Red is what they call a mid-flight or a mid-launch. And the thing with the mid-launch is that's the first one that's been mid-launch in this in the sector of these shafts. But you still got to load it, right? You still have to load it because it's a very stiff midsection. So you have to, if you're a real late releaser, you'll probably really like these. And that's where we're going with that one. So they're coming out there. We're starting to see, we're getting close, right? PGA show's coming around the corner. So we're going to start seeing a lot more of this. I think when the PGA show comes on, you're going to see a lot of the OEMs that are not going to show up. They're probably going to light up social media like a Roman candle, but we'll see. All right, so let's go talking. All right. Mike from Buffalo. He works at a local course and was lucky enough to get to play 18. Oh, there's Mrs. McGolf turning on some light in the background. That doesn't look too bad, to be honest with you. That's our new windows. We're letting the dog out, apparently. This is like having a green screen, only not having to have all that stuff behind you. There she is, Mrs. McGolf in the background. All righty, so he works at a local golf course, was lucky enough to play 18 today. The course was closed, so he had to place himself. Nothing like a little Zen golf, Mike. Good job. Mr. Ortiz, no golf in California. It's coming down here and with 45-mile-an-hour winds. Uh-oh. Last time it started raining a whole bunch, you guys had a whole lot of landslides. Speaking of that, which takes me into the tornadoes, if you guys have been watching the news feeds, a line of tornadoes ripped right up through Kentucky into Illinois and right to my west. Well, that'd be my west there, but to my west and near the Cincinnati area, and it tore up Kentucky pretty good. It was about, I'd say, 2.5 hours from here, but we felt it. There was a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and it came down in buckets. Absolute buckets. Rob says to Mike that he normally plays 2 balls when the oars. Yeah, that'd be nice. Danny, 37 degrees with a wind chill at 30 at our 8 o'clock tee time this morning. Shot a 39. 39. Nicely done, sir. Next 3 days here in Northeast Missouri. December golf can't beat it, right? I told my dad, I said, if this gets up to what I think it was on Saturday, we're out there. And it did. It actually got to in the mid to upper 60s. And then the rain came. I was no more getting ready to go, and the rain came. And I said, well, so much for that. So I was stuck inside. All righty. Hope you're well. We're back to working at home in the UK due to the Omicron. Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay. I'm not. I have stayed on the fringe of this COVID stuff, and again, I hope everybody's okay with this. But my goodness gracious, we gotta figure a way to get through this thing. Okay. As she asked about the year with Seymour, well, honestly, I never dealt with a company with better service than Capto, but Seymour is close. Sold an average of 1 putter a week. Wow, dude, that's very, very good. Honestly. Good job for you. Have you found updates to Capto in 2 versions? Some of the new features are seriously good, like the optimizer. Love my Capto. I believe I probably have I got it new, is it list this year maybe? So I might have I don't know if I have the 2nd generation, but I do have the update. I should get back on it again and check out that optimizer and see what it does, because I do like the information. So for anybody else out there, Capto is a basically, for lack of a better term, a putting launch monitor or a putting monitor to see how you're doing, and it monitors a bunch of stuff. You can get lost in the information, but if you really, really let it go, you can really find your way and become a better putter. Travis Hasselman, what's going on? Is finding the spine of a golf club important if you flow the shaft anyway and it changes the orientation of the spine? Well, so here's the thing. When you find the spine, that gets you in a, I don't have a shaft close. When you find the spine, let's just say it's a 12, and that gets you into the right church. The flowing gets you into the right pew. Okay. And a lot of the reasons why, if this is where, and you end up here or here, it's normally the geometry of the golf club. I'm finding that if you have a club with a truckload of offset, you'll have to move it to take into account where that center of gravity and that head is at, that's pulling on that spine. So if you get the flow and you're in that normal area, I would say stay with the flow. Kurt Evans. All right. I don't understand why modern iron sets have 5-degree loft gaps in the scoring irons. Old school 4 gaps gave me perfect yard 10. What is the rationale? Well, the rationale, Kurt, is because it started out so damn strong at the top that they had no way of getting to the bottom because you would be adding yet another wedge. If you start at the pitch, gap, sand, lob, 4 of them. And if you had 4 in there, that's 4 more. You would have to have another gap. You'd have to have another wedge. And for most people, that 1 degree isn't a killer. It really isn't. Now, I was good with the 4 degree for the 10-yard increments. I think it has more to do with swing speed. As the swing speed gets lower, your gaps are going to get wider. They'll get wider. And so anyway, that's where they're doing that in order for you to be able to not have as many not have to have another golf club. And but I would imagine if they find a way to make the damn things get stronger and still get the lofts going, much like you're seeing in these super duper strong ones where it's a 23-degree 5-iron. I know. And they can keep doing that because they're already doing it down there, right? These 23 degrees, if you go into the PXG's got one, Callaway's got one, TaylorMade's got one. I'm sure there's a few more out there. I'm sure Cobra's got one. And it starts at the 5 at a 24. You get a pitch, attack, a gap, a sand, a lob in order to get the right amounts, and I know it spurs on the right. Yeah, it spurs on the conversation of why, right? Is it and ego driven? People want it, that kind of stuff. All right, Kent, what's going on, sir? When we come over to the Emerald, we'll have to pay you a visit, Dave. That Capto looks pretty interesting. Yes, it is. Ken is very neat. The idea of the thing and what it does, it picks up the shake, it picks up consistency, and all the basics, how you're coming through this way, how you're coming through this way, how you're coming through this way, toe up, toe down. I mean, the shaft leans, 3D pictures. It's really kind of cool. All right. Charles, how are you, sir? Back to the Fittich 12. I laid eyes on a Fittich 20. A Fittich 20. Yeah. And that one's not out of reach, but it's not one that you're going to see all day, every day on the you're not going to be pouring it out every day. Okay. What's my take on the Mizunos? My take is that, all right, so Mizuno irons are just, they'll never be disappointing they just won't be, right? They've got the qualities in hand. That's a good thing. Number 2 is they've stayed in grain flow forging, and in every case in these new Mizuno Pros, that they're using that copper underlayment to soften the feel a little bit, which is, they had that for the longest while, and then they got rid of it, and they start getting this, hey, it doesn't feel as good. That's where it was coming from. And so that's underneath of them all. They started embracing forging chromoly. Okay. Now, chromoly is in the JPX Hot Metal and the Hot Metal Pro, and it's more of a cast kind of thing. Now, it's they're figured out how to forge that particular metal. And what is chromoly? For lack of a better term, it's another steel. All right, they got 1025E, 1025D, 1020, 431, 17.4, and you might as well throw chromoly into the mix now as well. And they figured out how to forge it. Now, the 221 is obviously the blade, right? And the blade is exactly what it is. It's a good-looking blade, but last year the blade was long. This year it's going to be more compact. Probably look a little bit better to most better players' eye, and they're going to get smaller in the downtime. Now, the 223 is that player's cavity back, which was the MMC of last year. This year, it's a multi-piece. It's chromoly forged on the front with a traditional steel on the back at the top end, and at the bottom end, it's a traditional forged face with a different traditional cage of which it's setting in. And the chromoly is a little thinner to get you more zip off the ball, and there's some more stuff going in it, and that's all in the video. And the 225, I think, is going to be a real hit because number one, it's a stronger loft, right? It's a stronger loft, a little slightly wider sole. It's going to be a little easier to hit. It won't look as big at address as the HMB because it's just not. It's going to be, it's intentionally meant to be a little smaller. I still think it's going to be one of their better sellers, just because you can look cool with a blade like in the bag, and it can still be very forgiving because they're all hollow bodies. So we can go from there. All right. Mr. Kent, cold Halifax. Ooh, no golf. You're on night shift. Well, I know what night shift's like, bud. So be safe. Matt Revlock, buddy, what's up? No rounds last weekend. Hopefully we get some during the holidays. Question. That would be kind of nice to have one for the holidays, wouldn't it? I'm truly going to try and set one up. How does ball speed help with gapping sessions? How much does ball speed help with gapping session? I wonder how that is. Well, so here's what I would say. Ball speed is something that's the result of the different irons, right? So as the iron is lower in loft, say let's just use a 5 or a 6, the ball speeds will be faster coming off the lower lofted iron than, say, the pitching wedge. Okay, it's also a shorter club, but the loft is higher and it's coming off at a different angle, so it doesn't have that speed. So that's how these gap sessions work. With the longer club, lower loft, further ball. Shorter club, higher loft, shorter flight, and that's how it goes. So you should, when you're doing gapping sessions, I mean, you can do a gapping session with a very, very low end, like one of those personal launch monitor units that just calculates that for a gapping session if that's all you're truly interested in. And that's especially if you've got somebody that can bend an iron one way or to another, if you need to agree this way or that way in order to get that gap that you're just dead set on. Pardon me. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more in depth, like quality of hit, and looking at what the speeds are, then we start talking lofts and lie angles as well, and then you get on the edge of on a fitting. But they should be indicative. You should be able to see what's going on in indicative. So if you have something that's super duper hot in one of them, that could be an outlier of the club, or it could be indicative of where most of the other irons need to go. Charles, 4141, you go, man, especially in all this, especially where you're at. Good job. Emmanuel, what's going on, sir? 50 degrees in New York City tomorrow. getting a full 18. Hopefully we'll break 80 without any eraser. Very good, sir. I hope so too. I hope so too. All right. Okay. So we're all talking to Matt about not being able to play. Yeah. Well, you know, if it got into the 50s or 60s, you're probably not in his sphere. You know, if he doesn't have to wear a sock hat or a toboggan wherever you're from, and snow gloves, he's probably kind of looking at it sideways. And the kids were working him over. All right. And that what do we call it? Lake Michigan beer? Not Lake Michigan. Whatever that lake beer we got that's out here. Willard, how you doing, buddy? Is it rehab doing well? With rain gear. Played on Saturday with rain gear. You know, good rain gear. I mean, that is if you're going to be out in the environment, that rain gear is super duper handy. And you know, as I found out, not only just in rain, but if you get into something like a high wind environment and you're just out and about, I can't tell you how many times I've used it in just normal situations. All right. Matt's talking to Willard. Matt says, Gore-Tex is a player's best friend, and you are not lying, sir. You are not lying. There's Mike Engel. How are you, buddy? Is there a reason why my video isn't syncing up? I don't know. If Robin's getting it okay out there, then I would say it might be something with you if you're on the Wi-Fi, might be that. Oh, there it is. Okay. South Dakota golf is awesome. I recommend it to everyone.
That's old news. You need to speed it up.
Hey, get off me. Get off me. Get off me. No, I'm not. I'd like to get out to South Dakota. That would be fun to try out some of that. That's probably mountain golf out there. Danny, can you buy Epic Fairway Wood heads? I may get fit and have you put some together if possible. Well, I can get the Epic Fairway Wood clubs, Danny. I just getting a head might be a bit of a task. Let's see what you end up with first. Retired 43. There we go. I think I'm due to get a round in because I had to stop early. There's Travis. Exit 13. All right. Beat me to it. Good man. Hope you noticed that if the have you noticed supply chain issues have gotten worse or better lately? Well, Travis, you know what? I would say that they haven't got better. Nobody is promoting how they are overcome their supply chain issues, except for an article where I saw Chip Brewer, who is the CEO of Callaway, saying that he was in a better situation than when he started. And for them, that's probably true. They the way all this was going, they started out low at the beginning of all this, and then climbed a high, and they figured out the way around. So it started sinking down, and then they climbed back up. But I think it's been how do I say it? I think it's been steady, right? It's been steady at a lower gear. And everybody's kind of manipulating their way through this lower gear attitude, and that's what it is. So far, so good. Now, yes, there have been the supply chain issues have really been in effect that some shaft manufacturers have just decided not to make some certain models. So I would say that's an impact. Some grip companies just aren't making some certain grips. There's some of that. Now the OEMs, they've got to put out the heads and that kind of stuff, so they're kind of stuck right there. And if they happen like they're happened to Dan, where they make them go shelter in place, it could get bad again, right? It could get bad again. Nice looking set. Thanks. David Hanner, do you use MOI machine, and would it tell you more than swing weight? I'm considering the purchase for my shop. Oh, David. No, I don't use an MOI machine. When they first came out, I did get one. I did some testing with it, and it grabbed a club here and it swung out at the bottom. So I would have to put the edge of the machine. This would be the edge of my bench, and the machine would have to stick out, and then the club would have to swing. Now I believe what they do now is that it sets in more of a jig on the sideways, and it measures it more of a different way. But no, I don't do it. Now, what does it tell you? I think it tells you of a preferred heft that the golfer likes. And then what we try to do is place all our knowns into this unknown. Okay. What does all that mean? MOI is a feel, much like swing weight, right? Swing weight is also a feel. But there's been so much work and so much study on it that dealing with swing weight is almost second nature because we know a lot about it. MOI is new, and even for years in the new, but it's still based on the golfer. Yeah, I really like this. And 9 times out of 10, if I give you the 7 iron or even the 8 iron, you go, oh yeah, that's the one. And so now you're matching MOIs to the 7 or the 8 iron. And there you go with that. Now, I will say this, that I did find out in a way, if you do the calculations, there's an MOI calculation out there, and it really is heavily reliant on length. It's a square, and it's length and weight, and it's the square of the length and weight, and meaning that with a little bit of change in length, you can change the MOI pretty dramatically. And that's what I learned, that if you wanted to keep the traditional lengths, that you had to remove, the head weights had to be about 5 grams apart. If you didn't care about traditional length, but you wanted the 7 gram weights, then you had to be about 3/8 inch apart in length, and you pretty much had a MOI match set. And I stumbled on that one by accident, and but that's what it was. And I just really wasn't. There are some guys out there that do very, very well with it. It just never was something that it never could wrap my head around to get to a point where you like this kind of stuff. So there's this range of MOI from this to this where you can live. I just don't. For some reason it just doesn't sit right with me. Now, is it wrong? No, but and because there's plenty of folks that are doing it. A buddy of mine, Bill in Cincinnati's doing it, and he loves it to death. Dylan Quinton from Tennessee, how are you, sir? Hopefully you didn't get nailed by all those damn tornadoes. All righty. Duke, he's back in PA, getting some days in the 50 this week. Go take advantage. That's right. Knock it down. I mean, how many of us up here in the northern end are going to be able to say, did you go golfing in December? Yes. Why not? All right. You like that tree? Robin did most of the decorating. All right. Did you use 60-degree angles for every club when you built for SD? No, I did not. I put him back into the playing position, and that's where that 1/4 inch came from. The reason why I mentioned that, Emmanuel, is that the gentleman golfer was a shorter individual, and he was wrestling with a shoulder injury, he's fresh off of, what was it, 2 hip replacements, which are going fine, and now a knee's going out. So basically he's chopping wood. And so when you're short and you're chopping wood, long clubs tend to be problematic. And then he said 3 degrees up, and I was like, oh, there it is. And so I tried cutting a little bit down, keep him in the swing weight area that was the same. And his flex turned out to be right. And in order for them to bring it around. So we talked a little bit about that. Mike, are you able to get the Callaway Maverick Max A wedge? I wish I'd bought the club and my set appears to be discontinued. Unfortunately, Mike, the whole entire Maverick line is discontinued now. It started off with the driver, and then we thought, well, okay, that's the end of that. And then they kept the fairway wood and the hybrid, and now they're taking those out. And then the irons were the very last thing to go, and they are the very last, and they're gone. The thing I would keep in mind, though, what you can find on there is if you go to the Callaway pre-owned, right? Callaway pre-owned and search for that, you may find exactly what you're looking for. Bah humbug. Have you noticed what's standing on both sides of me back here? I got a new one. Nope, this guy. Robin got me a new one. This guy. He's holding a pin flag and a scorecard. And this guy over here, he's holding a bag and a club. We had to retire one. He got so much sun that his hair fell out, much like mine. So we put a new one in play. They stay there all year round. Brendan Brown from Ireland. How are you, sir? Jim was looking at the ZX5s and the ZX7s. See how I said that for you guys? All right. Irons, why would you choose one more than the other when they're very similar? Now, Brendan, they are very similar, except the 5 has a much wider sole than the 7. They do have a very similar appearance, and that's a good thing because you can split set them. However, the 7 is much narrow, and I mean much narrower at the sole, and the lofts are a little weaker, okay? And the offset is just a little smaller. So if you're a better ball striker and distance is not your concern, certainly the 7 is the way to go. However, if you're playing in the mountain area and you need to keep the ball in the air, you might consider a 5, but you might go a little higher if you go in the higher sets like the 4, 5, 6, and play that in the 5, and then 7 on down, and play those in the 7s, right? Let's see if I can get one. Oh, I do have my right here. It's handy having your club heads behind you. All right, so here's the 7, and there's the 5. All right, pretty big difference. That's the biggest one. Then if you look at the face, again, the 5 is here, 7 is here. They do look very similar here, but I think the 7's a little smaller. And then the last bit of it is the offset. It doesn't look like it, but the 5 has a little bit more offset by millimeters, right? By millimeters. So, but that's what I would look at. And they're very nice, right? Single piece forged with a little bit of decoration in the back. Not a bad little club. All right. Samson Bofeld. What do you say, sir? I would like to drill some material out of the club head to lower the swing weight. Do you think it's possible with Vokey wedges and Mizuno heads? Have maybe done this video on this? Well, I have. I've shown where I've done it, Samson. Yes, you can. I would be very careful about it. You don't want to take out too much. I use a reamer, okay? When you do a reamer, it's the easiest way to get around doing this. And it depends on how much you want to remove, too. If you do a reamer, what it does, it takes it from a 355 hosel and puts it into a 370 hosel, and which either one of two things you're going to have to change. You're going to have to put in a parallel tip wedge shaft, or you're going to have to put in an adapter piece, which in its own right may just be counterproductive to your weight removal. It just depends. Now, the adapter you put in there is made out of light brass, and it's very, 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 very light. So I don't think it's equivalent, but you're adding weight back in. Now, there's another way of doing it is end milling the bottom, and it just goes deeper. Now you have a deeper insertion depth, and that will change the feel of the club. To the negative or to the positive depends on the golfer. If it grabs more, in the theory of this, if it grabs more hosel or it grabs more tip section, it should be more stable. And in a wedge, you're kind of looking for that. But there is diminishing returns. But that's probably the easiest way to go. Now, on another, it doesn't set with me very well, but it can be done. That you drill it out a little further and just not insert it. So there's always that. All right. His 92 and still hits the Hogan blades. Your dad is the man, Mr. Ortiz. He is the man. In 92. My dad's 85. I'd like to get him out there hitting again, too. Man, Hogan blades. Woo-wee. We go on the 21st, back on the 4th. Oh, my goodness. We're shutting the other plant. We're closing for the week of Christmas. So I'm going to be off that whole week. Mrs. McGolf is talking about something called a honey-do list. I don't understand. Robin's talking to folks. Whoop, honey-do list. Look at that. I was just ahead of it. Kids come home, cost a fortune, and they shut the course. Who wants that, Matt? There you go, right? This is my youngest is 32, and I was just talking to him on our text messaging. So yeah. Pooey. All right. From Bood Cornwell. Is it Bood or Boudet? Bud Cornwell. All right. Cornwall. Hopefully getting fit for a new driver after Christmas. Well done, sir. Going to look at all the brands as I want performance over looks. Shot 90 today. Well done, bud. Well done. I'm guessing based on what you're telling me on your swing and how you were hitting and the things that that you were doing, you will probably find yourself in the depending on the people, something in the Callaway LS or the Ping LST, something along that lines, with the idea of just keeping the spin down because of the high swing speed. Outside of that, the rest of it is, shaft and length and that kind of stuff. But hopefully it works out well. All righty. Under 14, so cost isn't that bad. Oh, yeah. On both times, right? There's Jason. How are you, sir? Yeah, we like the tree. We like to get it maybe a little bit bigger so it costs us to have to go traveling and find some more ornaments. We do have other ones for that was the family where we started out with me and Robin and the dogs, me and Robin, the dogs and the kids, me, Robin, the dogs, kids, and the wives, and then me, Robin, the kids, the dogs, the wives, and the grandkids. So it's starting to getting harder and harder to find those really big ornaments. All righty. Any suggestions on a putter? On a putter similar to the Superstroke Pistol GT 2.0. Smaller. Yeah. There's a rubber version. If you look at Golf Pride, they have an SNSR and it's red and it comes in a 104 or 140. The 140 is very big. The pistol 2.0 isn't real big. And this SNSR is a pistol style grip and it is very square, very much like the Superstroke. And that one would probably help you out. It will have a different feel. However, I think it would feel better. Okay. I do like that one. trying to think. Win really doesn't have anything like that. Then more of the squarish kind of stuff. Lampkin's Fat Cat, but bang for buck, I don't see it working out real well. I would look at the SNSR. I think TaylorMade has a new stealth driver launching next year. And very well may. They had pretty good success with this Sim 2. So they got to keep relevant. So you guys, it's rotating the models so that they can keep their name in the press. Oh, today. Look at that. I like that one. My Christmas present will be to be in Waverly for a Monday podcast. Oh, there you go. That would be fun. I got room for you, partner. I can put another microphone out there. We can put the headphones on, the whole 9 yards. Oh yeah. Matter of fact, you let me know. Retired 43, busy chat tonight. Yes, it is, and it's digging on this, right? We're getting close to the holidays, right? We got one more of these before Christmas, and then right after we can share all the good Christmas gifts that we got. That'll be fun. That's true. We have them late 30s down to 20s, Matt. Hormone. Well, there's all kinds of kid stuff we can be talking about there, Kent. Oh my goodness. Dylan Quinn, please pray for those affected all around me. I survived damage free. Good job. Yeah, some of the, it totally wiped out that town, right? There's that candle making factory that just got absolutely hammered, and the whole entire town, just a string of tornadoes that were pretty bad. Oh, 2022. Okay, you've heard it now. It'll be the Matt and Jim show, at least on one of these. Now, the other part is, Matt, if you do that, I mean, if you can do this on anything but that phone of yours, we could probably do it. All right. What does everyone think about the new World Handicap System? 49 points won our competition today. 45 was second. Some chance me hitting those numbers off of a 5. I don't know. I haven't really looked at it too hard. There hasn't been a whole lot of commotion over here, Brendan, about that. So we'll really have to look at that. Wedges will be ready soon. Uh-oh, that sounds like I'm getting work. Charles Hone, hey buddy, it's a long time. It's hunting season in Bama. Well, there you go. And I will say this: we are planning a trip into the Gulf Shores down that neck of the woods. So in February, that'll be fun. Darren, hey, what's going on, bud? Jim, how would you know or measure what swing weight you would have your VRS need and add text sweeps from different frequencies out before you cut them to specified lengths? What am I missing here? All right, let's start this over. How would you know or measure what swing weight you would have versus need, VRSs, would have need versus need to add or deduct weight when figuring frequencies out before you cut them to specified lengths? What am I missing here? All right, Darren, what I think you're asking. So number one, what would help you out is, number one, you got to kind of start with what I call it like a master club for that set. And what you do is there are certain givens, right? Like a half inch's worth, a certain amount of swing weight. A certain amount of weight at the tip is worth a certain amount of swing weight. And it does change, right? Very little, but it does. and then you have, and that certain amount of weight at the tip changes frequency just ever so slightly. Now, what you can do, and I do when I'm really getting down to it, is let's start with a 5-iron. It's been kind of the focus today. Get a 5-iron, and then you get this 5-iron, and you measure what you get the frequency to where you want. Now, leaving the length, because normally what you have is added length, right? You're putting it through the frequency machine, and that extra stuff sticking out. All right, so now you have your frequency right at that end. And if you're dead on right there and you need to add, say, a couple of grams of swing weight, right? Now, this doesn't, if you're adding 10, that's a lot. And I really don't like going up that high, but sometimes you have to. So keeping in mind, 2 grams at the tip, 1 swing weight. All right, 1 swing weight, 1 point of flex. Okay. So what I will do is I will cut, knowing that I'm very, very close. Let's just say I have to add 4 grams. So that's 2 swing weight points. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll cut this thing, and I know I'm really, really close. So 2 grams isn't going to be real bad. So I'll cut this thing a 1/2 inch long. So I know I'm +3. I'll put it in there, put the weight with it, and then I'll tape a grip to the top and get an idea, knowing I should be about 3 heavy. And then if I'm 3 heavy and I'm at where I'm at, then you're good to go. Now, if you're, and you're talking about moving the frequency 2 CPM. 2 CPM is between 1/8 and 1/4 of a flex. I'd say you'd be okay. Right? Now, if you wanted to, you could trim it a little, like 1/8, and then start that process all over. But that's where it's at. Got to stock up the freezer. Yeah. Charles, did you watch the game? I was talking to Charles. The other Charles watched the game. I watched that. I was like, man, you want to talk about? I thought Auburn had him, but not to be. Patricia Benson, VASK Tech. Okay. Charles, our son, absolutely. My son, who served in the Army, came down and we watched the game together. Has become a family tradition. Very good. Traditions are good. Charles, actually hunting now, watching Jim's video. Thought I changed my luck. Oh, my goodness. Oh, we're talking about Navy. I did not know. Well, I would imagine. Okay. Normally, there's a lot of side betting where I'm at because there's a lot of Navy and Army guys where I work. All righty. Sunny V, Windy, Ontario, partner. Hopefully everything's good for you. Here we go. Adrian Andrettia. Canberra, Australia. Thank you for your live chat. Enjoy your take on golf and equipment. Well, Adrian, thank you for sunny Canberra. That's very nice. And it's in the morning for you, so very good. And thank you for coming on. Did you just say lay eyes on it, Jim? It's Christmas, for goodness sake. No, I did not. I watched it with my daughter. She's a former Army, and she was in Army Intelligence enlisted. She's out on medical disability. She's okay. Well, that's good. Very good. Al Burnett from the Space Coast. Merry Christmas in Florida. Good night. Going crazy price-wise. Have to take a bank loan. Oh, yeah. Everything's going up, is it? It was nutty when we were there. We went down there at the beginning of the year, as you guys know, and we went down there, and I was going to try and get on TPC, and dude, that's a lot of jack for 18 holes and not being able to play with your buddy. So we decided that, discretion was the better part of valor and went to the other one. But it was still good. Still playing old school lofts. I can't fathom why or how I'd manage a 7-iron flying 190. Just crazy to me. Yeah, there's a who was it? There's a guy in Australia that's on YouTube, Al somebody or another, and he had a 7-iron from one of the Mizunos, and the blade wasn't going that far, and he was really enjoying it. But the other one, the 225, no 223, was much stronger, and he was getting it was a little more lively off the face, and he was talking about a 190 to 200 7-iron. I was like, crazy indeed. Now I did that the other day with a what was it? I hit one, and again, Ken, it was jacked up hard. It was a Cleveland, the launcher, the hybrid head, and I landed them at, I got out to 199. Yeah, it was a lot. It was jacked. I'm leaning towards the 225s, but I understand how offset they have, and do they have a gap wedge in them? So they have a very low offset, Charles. It's a more than the other two, but not very much. So it's not gross. It's a player's look to be sure. And yes, I do believe they have a gap wedge, particularly for the righties. They're starting to embrace the gap wedge. Same here, Kent, old school baby boomer. There you go. He may B20 drive with RCF straight, no more slice. I need more distance. Should I go heavier shaft or recommendation? Rob, so I would look at a couple of things. Number one, with the B21, if you need it to go, depends on what kind of distance you're looking for. If you need to carry it further, increase the loft. If you need to get out further, I'd take it down a notch and stay with that. Because if you're hitting it straight, not much you can do. Now the idea is to just hit it better. Find the middle of the club face, that it will always work, and then adjust the loft. There's Patrick. How are you, sir? Hello, golf people. I think you were in the Facebook fitters thing, asking a question. I almost answered that one for you, and then I let it go to see what other people were going to do. Golf. Yeah, they don't stop as quickly. They still hit pretty high, though. Kevin Jones, and he's hitting us from Facebook. Best wedge shaft to complement Catalyst 50 5.0 shaft and the rest of the irons. Well, I'll give you a couple, Kevin. And there's one that Callaway offers, and it's a KBS 80, right? It's a KBS 80 wedge shaft, and it's in some of their CBs. I just don't know if it's a production model. Okay, I don't know if it's a production model. What I would be looking for you, and from a 50-gram shaft, I'd be looking something in the 70 at the lightest, 90 at the heaviest kind of thing, and a wedge shaft. And the only other one that I know for certain is the Acura. Acura has a wedge shaft that's in the 90-gram range, and it is very, very good. I've played them. They're a little too light for me, but they work, right? They work very, very well. But I would look at that. Now, these are specific wedge shafts, right? And I would look at something like that. Mr. Bob, and he tried the Modus 115. Seems to be a nice bend profile, good weight. Yes, it is. Yes, it will be. No, I haven't. And I knew they were coming out, and I asked for them directly because I'm a 105 fan. If it ends in the 5, it's going to be in that same profile. If it ends in the 0, it's going to be a little stiffer. That's kind of a way to go about it. But no, you want to talk about supply chain, that's the only reason why I don't have it. They made a commitment to Mizuno to ensure that they had it, and they're sticking to that commitment. Once that commitment's been filled, then they're going to start filtering out to us. And I think it'll be a very, very good shaft to be sure. All right. How do you get motivated to do work in your shop instead of hitting balls or couch surfing? Well, number one is I have one heck of a good woman. When I walk in, she hits me right square in the forehead with a 2x4 and says, "Get to work." No, not at all. Not at all. She manages this thing up. I come through. She hooks me up with what we need to do, and she knows when to lay off, and she knows when to push, and that's how we get it done. And there's just some days it's better to sit and you reclaim your thoughts, and there's some days that's better to push through and just get it done. That and a lot of background music. Just not for me, Charles. I know what was happening with them. Okay. Okay. Scrunchy, there he is. He's been a while, buddy. How's it going? Larry, what's going on? Hello, sir. Do you have any recommendations budget-friendly clubs for someone just starting out? So, Larry, what we talk about is for folks in that range, when we do it around here, what I typically do is send folks to Dick's Sporting Goods or a Golf Galaxy or something along that lines. And for just somebody just starting out, right, just getting started in the game of golf, they have a lot of the OEMs, Callaway, Ping, Adams used to have them. Who else has them? I would imagine TaylorMade's got them. And what they are is it's golf in a box, right? It's golf in a box. It is a box, and in that box is a bag, a driver, maybe a fairway wood or maybe a hybrid, a set of irons, a couple wedges, and a putter. And you pull it out of the plastic, throw some golf balls and tees in it, and you're on your way. Then you're playing. Now, and that is the epitome, the absolute epitome of you get what you pay for. The least, when you start spending very, very little, you get very, very little, and the quality is very, very bad. However, if you drop, say, like in the I would say in the $500 to $700 range, then you start getting into the better quality. And there are some that are a little higher, but I would say right around 700, what you're getting is clubs that were 4 or 5 years ago technology with just a different badge on the back, and you can hand somebody and let them go golfing. And what I tell people, it's a double-edged sword. You can spend that money, and if you get hooked on it, then you've only spent that little bit of that money, and you can hand them down, do whatever, and get into the next set of clubs. If you spend that money and you don't like it, you still have only spent that little bit of money. You go in the garage sale and you get a little bit of it back. And so you got your use and you get a little bit back from it. And that's what I call golf in a box. Wilson has some too. The other one's Strata. There's some Callaways. There's some Wilsons. I know Ping does it or did it. But I would stay in that particular realm. But go to those places and go check those out, Larry. Charles, you have strong lofted still. Yeah. Rehab's going well for Willard. Be ready for the off season when it gets there. All right. Might try yoga, get more swing speed and stamina. Stamina is the key. Brilliant. There we go. As long as I have a hole. Kevin Jones, best wedge shaft recommendations for a long. Oh, I answered that one. Tim Barford, what's going on, sir? Nice to join. Well, good. Glad you're here. Here's some new names. Rob Neath, what's going on? How do you stamp wedges? Hoping to send a club to build you by the end of the week. I'm excited to have you build for him. So I'm kind of old school right now on that, although as I get older, I think I'm going to get a press. But I have basically an anvil backing on my my clamp, my vise, and I put it down on this flat area, and then I've got a really nice set of stamps and a really heavy hammer, and away we go. Oh yeah, Kevin, it discontinued. It's 2 years, man. Product cycles run, and the Maverick was very, very popular. I mean, it really was. And then you got hit with all the, throw in supply chains, and it was a choice: either spend a lot of money on a club that was on its way out and get refills and get it going, or end it at the end of their supply and move into the next one. And that's what they chose. Have you found a relationship between swing weight and strike location, heel toe on irons in the fitting? Uh, I know some folks out there that have. I have not. I'm more about the total weight than I am the swing weight. Some people prefer a heavier club as a whole versus just head heavy. Now I know some, and I think that's really what it is that somebody's added some weight and it made it felt good and away it went.
Speed up.
Okay, well, I'm getting close. Ethan Nichols, are the Malt BST2 irons actually good? Well, I actually did a review on the iron and the driver. I think the irons are pretty good. The nice little pocket cavity cast. It's a little hard, right? It's a little hard. I think it'll feel good when the right setup. The driver really didn't work for me very well. It's a good looking club, especially for a lefty. But I think if I was looking at anything, I would stay into the irons. Alrighty. Ignore the honeydew list. It's not a real thing. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to try and convince her of that. I don't know if it'll work. Here you go. Uh, Roger Wild, how are you, sir? Playing Wilson D9s, 5 through gap with stiff catalyst shafts. There you go, man. That's a good setup. Considering either a 4-iron to match the set or a driving iron of the same loft, 18 degrees, what would be the main difference? The 4-iron will have much, much more offset than the driving iron. The driving iron will probably be a tad lighter and a little less forgiving than the 4-iron. And that's probably what it would be. Now, if you're really digging on these, Roger, the other one you might want to consider at that particular point, unless you needed something totally flat, is the D9 hybrid is no joke either. Would a heavier swing weight influence the ball hits on the face? Or would heavy lead to strikes closer to the heel, too light to the toe? Just curious. Honestly, there's some people that would think that the heavier that it is, the more that you would tend to strike at the toe, as it causes you to pull back. Where lighter, it causes you to throw out. It's theory. It's theory because each person's different. Because if you're an over-the-top guy, it's not going to matter. If you're a guy that comes in flat, that guy is probably one to be most impacted by the swing weight. Used to play golf with a gentleman who was older on the tee one day. He says, Ed, why don't you move up on a tee box? He said angrily, I'll move up when I'm old. Ed, you're 92 years old. There you go, right? Oh, got here late today. Weather's still holding good, so we'll be out playing tomorrow. Good for you, buddy. Throw down, give nothing back. McNay. Grammar. Yeah, there's not going to see that. More time figuring out how to read them, answer them loud out. Yeah, sometimes. Your math mind is the answer. Confusing. Well, it gets going. I kind of dig some math. Let's see. Tip. All I got. Laugh out loud. Okay. But flex is an undefinable unit. Well, undefinable unit, maybe. Undefinable unit, I don't know. And I would agree, an 1/8 inch is also trivial. Well, they can if they're fit. All right. Thanks, anyway, guys. Awesome. Extremely knowledgeable. Hard to tell you're a military man after decoding my question. Yeah. Well, we get to see a lot of those things, right? All right, Darren, top genre on the McGolf playlist. There you go. There's my buddy Bob. He's made it in. Golf Chris. I don't know what you guys got, some sort of conversation going in the background, but I am a Children of the Sun fan. All right. My dog Rex. Go to GolfWorks and get Arista neutral clubs at a good price. They do have some nice stuff. All righty. Last two, guys, and then I'm done. Speaking of beginner clubs, I started with Adams A7s. Great clubs. Might be worth a try to find some used ones. The A7s were pretty nice, and they used to have some really fine used sets. Now, I don't know if TaylorMade shut them all the way down or not, but they did have some really nice stuff. Well, Pat, I think it was something about doing something different with pings and a reshaft and some about the hosel, but that was it. Oh, we got one more because it's a new name. I haven't seen this one. Zach Wheeler, swing weight question. Is there a standard rule of thumb when measuring without a grip when adding a standard grip 52? I see people reference 9 swing weight points, E3 to D4, but I'm getting E3 to E6 with a grip. Okay. So basically at the back end, Zach, so anything you add at the back end or the butt section, it's about 4 grams. Okay, 4 grams per swing weight point. So you're looking at somewhere in that 12, 14 gram area. However, that's in this section of the shaft. What we're talking about is you're adding it this far, so that number gets smaller, and that's where that would go. Now, and it also depends on the style of grip as well. If you have like an MCC type style grip, it'll be different than a standard like a Tour Velvet, something along that lines. So a lot of that, and particularly if you have a lot of cord on one side and not the other. So there's a lot more going on to it than just that. But it shouldn't go up. That's for certain. It should not go up. Can't beat Christmas tunes. You're right. All right, last one, guys. Dimpled Sphere. Jim played Hermitage yesterday. I'm in Hermitage, Tennessee. Side of the LPGA a long time ago. Merry Christmas. Well, good for you. Hopefully you did well, bud, and thank you. Okay, guys and gals, we got to rock and roll. I'm into 15 minutes past my time, and that's okay. Again, like and subscribe if you would. All right, like and subscribe. Tomorrow the video is coming out, so please take a look at that and like and subscribe that one, and let your friends know so that they can see it. It's a Mizuno review from a clubmaker's point of view. And again, you guys stay safe out there with the weather coming in, and you guys overseas that are getting hit with the Omicron. And as always, let's see your scores. Go low.